Every December, my family found a way to leave me out of Christmas. This year, instead of waiting for a call that never came, I bought a cabin in the woods and posted the photos. It was the best Christmas gift I could give myself. One day later, my mom texted as if nothing had happened. "Your brother and his wife are going to move in with you." Yeah, right. My name is Leora, and I am 31 years old. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods where the houses look like they belong in magazines, and people show off perfect lawns like trophies. In my house there were plenty of rooms, and something simpler was missing: someone who really saw me. There were 4 of us: my parents Harlan and Delphine, my older brother Corbin, and me. My dad held a high position at a large tech company, always impeccable, always talking about numbers, deals, and results, as if there weren't a little girl at the table wanting to tell them how her day at school went. My mom had been on television when she was young, and later reinvented herself in events, foundations, fundraising dinners, and that world where everyone smiles even when they can't stand one another. Corbin was 4 years older than me, and, for as long as I can remember, he was the pride of the family. It wasn't that he did well, it was that everything about him was celebrated as if it were historic. The walls had his photos everywhere, in sports uniforms, with awards, with medals. His trophies shone in display cases. My things, when they existed, ended up in a box upstairs where no one ever went. I remember my 10th birthday as if it still hurts. I woke up excited, because turning 2 digits felt important. I went downstairs expecting at least a card, a hug, some pancakes, anything. My parents were in the kitchen arguing about the color of the uniform Corbin would wear in a tournament. They didn't even turn when I walked in. I sat at the table and poured myself cereal. I waited. Hours passed. That day they went to several stores looking for the perfect uniform, comparing brands as if it were a serious matter. I stayed home watching TV. Almost at 9 o'clock at night, already in pajamas, my mom put her hand to her mouth and said, "Oh no, Leora's birthday." My dad looked up from his computer and said without guilt, "Next week we'll buy you something nice. I promise." That next week never came. At 12, Corbin made the Maine high school team as a freshman. My parents threw a party, rented a tent, hired caterers, and invited half the town. That same year I won first place at the science fair with a water filtration project that took me 3 months. I arrived with my ribbon neatly pinned, heart in my hand. My mom saw it and said, "How nice, sweetheart," then went back to her list for an event that wasn't even mine. It was to celebrate Corbin in advance. But the birthdays and school achievements weren't the worst. Christmas was something else. Once, when I was 14, I woke up on December 25 and heard suitcases. I went downstairs and saw my parents loading the car. Corbin was already sitting in front wearing new clothes I had never seen. "Where are you going?" I asked. "We're going to Maui," my mom said without looking guilty. "Corbin has worked so hard. He deserves a real break." I asked because I still had hope. My dad sighed as if I were exaggerating. "Your grandmother will be here in an hour. You'll have a quiet Christmas with her." They left. I stayed with my grandmother, the only person in the family who seemed to notice I existed. She baked cookies, we watched old movies, and she never mentioned Corbin once. That, to me, was a gift. The next year I was 15, and even though it embarrassed me to admit it, I thought maybe this time things would change. I went downstairs and saw Corbin opening gift after gift. A new high-end laptop that everyone wanted and easily cost over $2,000, a leather jacket, a watch, concert tickets, and more. The living room looked like a store. My mom handed me an envelope. Inside was a card with a snowman, and "Merry Christmas" printed on it. Nothing else. No personal note. No, "I thought of you." Just paper. I stared at it. Then I looked at Corbin's mountain of boxes. "This isn't fair," I said, voice shaking. "He gets everything, and I get a card." "Your brother is already in college," my dad answered as if that explained everything. "He needs important things." My mom looked at me with a hard expression. "Don't be like that, Leora. It looks really bad to keep track of how much everyone else gets." I went to my room and cried quietly so no one would be bothered. That day my grandmother called. I told her everything and she said she was sorry. I believed her because she was the only one who meant it. Over the years it became routine. Every Christmas Corbin received incredible gifts. A car when he turned 21, trips, designer clothes, gadgets, experiences, and I received a card. Sometimes it had a handwritten message, but that wasn't better. It was one of those phrases that sounded like a scolding in disguise. Once it said, "You should try harder." Another, "Be grateful for what you have." 1 year without shame. Don't envy your brother. It's not his fault he's successful. After a while, I stopped expecting anything, or at least I told myself that. At 18, I was accepted at a good university in the city. I moved into a small apartment near where my internship would start and barely looked back. My mom texted me from time to time asking why I didn't call. I called once a month, and the conversations were always the same. 20 minutes about Corbin, his plans, his job, his life, and at the end, "How are you?" that lasted about as long as it takes someone to remember they left the stove on. Still, foolish as it sounds, part of me wanted to belong, especially at Christmas. I missed the idea of Christmas, not the reality. The first year I no longer lived at home, I called my mom at the beginning of December. I was thinking of coming for Christmas. I said, "I finish everything mid-month. I could stay a week." There was a long silence. "Look, Leora, maybe it's better if you stay where you are this year," she said finally. "The family of Corbin's fiancée is coming. It's going to be full." "Full," I repeated. "The house has plenty of rooms." "Yes, but you understand," she said without saying it. "Besides, you'd feel out of place." I listened. Why bother? That December I went to see my grandmother. I didn't stop by my parents' house. Days later I saw photos on social media, everyone smiling by the tree, glasses raised, the caption saying something like, "The whole family together." I wasn't in any of them. After that I stopped asking and they stopped inviting. I graduated with honors. 3 years later I got a job at a marketing agency in the city and worked myself to the bone. Years after that I was recruited by a big creative firm, the kind that handles national campaigns with nice offices and demanding clients. I started as a junior strategist and climbed by staying up late and never saying I couldn't. I worked endless hours, presented ideas that scared me, took projects no one wanted, and it worked. My family never knew any of it because they never asked. I stayed in the family chat watching my mom post photos of Corbin and his wife Mirabelle at dinners, events, short trips, everything perfect. Corbin got married a few years earlier. I wasn't invited. My mom said it would be very small, just close family. Then I saw the photos. There were at least 150 people. The chat was always the same. My mom bragging about Corbin, my dad saying I earned every single thing. At 31, I landed the biggest project of my career. A sportswear brand wanted to reposition itself with young people, and they gave me full creative control. 6 months of work, building a team, researching, testing, adjusting. When we launched the campaign, the results were insane. Sales shot up. In the first quarter, they rose more than 30%. My director called me into his office and told me I had done something special. 2 weeks later, I received a bonus, $75,000. I stared at the number in the banking app for 10 minutes. It made me laugh and want to cry at the same time. I had never had that much money at once. My first impulse was to tell someone, to celebrate. With whom? My work friends would be happy. Yes, but something inside me still wanted my family to finally see me. And then I remembered the family chat. Days earlier, my dad had written bluntly, "When are you going to achieve something important? You're already 31. And then he added, "At your age, Corbin was already rising." I had wanted to reply that I had been promoted several times, that I led major campaigns, that my salary was well above average. But I stopped. They didn't want to know. They only wanted to compare. I didn't tell them about the bonus. November came and the chat activated again with plans for the family dinner at the end of the month. My mom sharing recipes, my dad talking about buying good wine. And then the announcement. Corbin had been promoted at his bank. Now he was a senior manager. My dad wrote a message that embarrassed me on his behalf. "The proudest day of my life. I always knew you would do great things, son." 2 days later, my mom wrote in the chat as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Leora, can you buy Corbin a nice watch for his promotion? Something around $1,500. Make sure it arrives at the house before the family dinner. Thanks." I read it 3 times. She didn't ask if I could. She didn't say please. She didn't say how are you. She simply assumed I would obey. An expensive gift for the brother who had never given me anything, for parents who had never celebrated a single thing of mine. That night I sat in my living room with a glass of wine and started looking at house listings. Not for investment, not for business for the first time, for me. I saw it. A cabin in the woods near Lake Tahoe with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a large deck, and a big window overlooking pines and mist, a stone fireplace, a bright kitchen, photos that made you feel the cold air even though you were in the city. It cost between $300,000 and $350,000. It wasn't cheap, but the down payment was possible with the bonus and what I had already saved. Plus, I had a pre-approved mortgage from the bank. The monthly payment with my salary was manageable. The more I looked at it, the clearer it became. I wanted it not as a whim, but as a space where no one could tell me I was extra. I dialed the number in the listing. An agent named Laura answered with a confident voice and told me the cabin was available. Since I had already been looking at options for days, that night she caught me ready. In less than an hour we were on a video call, and she was showing me the house. It was better than the photos. "Want to think about it?" she asked with a soft laugh. "Could you see it first?" "No," I answered. "I want it. Tell me what I need to hold it." That same night I signed the offer. The next morning I made the electronic transfer for the deposit. It was impulsive, it was crazy, and I didn't care. 3 weeks before Christmas I signed the papers and received the keys. I drove up alone, opened the door, and stood in the empty living room listening to the echo of my steps. There was a full kitchen, but everything else was blank. I walked through every room, touched the walls, looked out every window. "It's mine," I said quietly, as if I needed to hear it. The following weeks I worked as if I were building my life from zero. I didn't make it beautiful by magic. I brought furniture from my apartment, bought several things online to be delivered straight to the cabin, and hired a handyman for the heavier details. During the week I worked at night, and on weekends I stayed there almost all day. By December 21, it already looked like a home. That day I took photos and posted them on Instagram. I wrote a single sentence: "I deserved my own house, the best Christmas gift." 1 hour later, my phone wouldn't stop. Messages from my mom, my dad, and Corbin, all asking the same things. "What is this? Whose house is that? Where did you get the money? Where is it?" I read them with a smile and didn't reply. Another hour later, my mom sent one last message: "Family dinner, December 23, 7 p.m. This is not up for discussion. I thought about ignoring her too, but something in me wanted to see their faces. I wanted to say it in person. On the 23rd, I left with time because I knew how traffic gets in the city, and I arrived at the house where I grew up. I rang the bell. My dad opened and didn't even say hello. He looked at me seriously and motioned me to the living room. By then, my mom and Corbin were already there. Corbin with his arms crossed, my mom with red eyes as if she had been crying. It was her favorite tactic, crying so you feel guilty. I sat in front of them and waited. "Whose house is that?" my dad asked directly. I smiled. "Mine." They stayed quiet. "I bought it with the bonus they gave me at work. $75,000. My mom opened her mouth, genuinely surprised. "That can't be." "Yes, it can," I said. "It happens when you work hard and they let you live your life." "But you only are," she started. "If any of you had been interested in me in the last 10 years, you would know where I work," I answered. "I lead major campaigns. I've been promoted several times. That bonus was for a project that increased sales more than 30%. My dad blinked as if it was hard for him to process. Corbin said nothing, just looked at me with that strange mix of disbelief and anger. Then Corbin spoke. "You should have consulted us before making a purchase like that." I laughed, not in mockery, but because I couldn't believe it. "What's so funny?" he snapped, annoyed. "That you think I need permission?" I said. "It's my money. We're family," Corbin said as if reciting something he had learned. "Big decisions are made together." "Oh, of course," I answered. "Like when you got married and didn't even invite me, or when you go on trips at Christmas and leave me with Grandma, or when you only remember me to ask me for things." My mom jumped in quickly. "That attitude is exactly the problem. You've become selfish, Leora. That house is too big for one person. The logical thing would be for all of us to celebrate Christmas there together, the way it should be. What will the family say if they find out you left us out?" "No, it's simple." Corbin leaned forward, his voice harder. "Mirabelle is pregnant," he said, as if it were a winning card, "and our apartment is already too small. We've dreamed of a place like that. It would be perfect for us with the baby." I felt the blow in my chest. "What are you saying?" I asked slowly. "That you let us stay there?" He answered as if it were reasonable. "Just until the baby is born and we get settled about 6 months. You have 3 bedrooms. You don't need that much space." My mom nodded, convinced. "It's the most logical thing. You're alone, and they're going to be a real family. Family supports each other." I stood up. "When did you ever support me?" I asked. My dad stood up too. "We raised you," he said with that cold voice of someone who thinks he is closing a deal. "We gave you everything." "You gave everything to Corbin," I answered. "You gave me cards and told me not to be envious." My mum frowned. "That's not true. We treated you the same." I looked at her without blinking. "You forgot my 10th birthday," I said. "You went to Maui at Christmas with him and left me with Grandma. You gave him a car, trips, expensive gifts. You gave me cards. You didn't invite me to Christmas for years. You didn't invite me to his wedding. You didn't invite me to the family dinner this November. Don't tell me it was the same." The silence grew heavy. Then my dad released what he had really come to say. "If you want to fix your relationship with this family, you will spend Christmas in that house, and you will let your brother and his wife stay there rent-free for as long as they need." I looked at them one by one. My mom with her victim face, my dad with his pride intact, Corbin sitting as if the world owed him. "You left me out years ago," I said, without trembling now, "only that now you remember because it suits you." My mom reached out her hand, acting tender. "Leora, don't exaggerate. We're here, aren't we? We're trying." "You're trying to take my house," I answered. I walked toward the door. "Leora," my dad shouted, "if you walk out, you're cutting off your family." I stopped and turned. "You cut me off a long time ago," I said. "You were just too busy applauding Corbin to notice." I left. Behind me they kept talking, raising their voices, saying the same things as always, that I was the bad one, that I was the selfish one, that I was breaking the family. I didn't stop. That night my phone rang non-stop. Messages from my dad saying I was irrational, my mom saying I was breaking her heart, Corbin saying I owed him support because that's what siblings do. I blocked all three. I left the family chat, stayed silent, and for the first time that silence didn't scare me, it gave me peace. I called my friends and invited them to the cabin for Christmas. Then I called some cousins on my mom's side, the ones who had always treated me well, the ones who were genuinely close. In an hour I had more than 10 confirmations. Christmas was perfect. We cooked together, played board games, sat by the fireplace, laughed until our stomachs hurt. I took photos, and for the first time they weren't photos to pretend, they were photos of people who really wanted to be there. My mom commented on one of my posts with something passive-aggressive, one of those messages that tries to look good to whoever reads it. "How sad to see you forget your real family. So much pride, and this is how you repay it." I read it. I let out a small laugh and didn't reply. I wasn't going to fight that theater anymore. For New Year's I made a plan I had owed myself for years. I went to get my grandmother. She was 83, and still one of those people whose look could put your heart back in place. She put on her coat and didn't ask anything until we were on the road. "Where are we going?" she said. "To my cabin. I want to show it to you." She smiled. I saw the photos. It's beautiful. The drive, leaving early and without heavy holiday traffic, took about 2 hours. When we arrived, she walked slowly through every room, touching the furniture, looking at the trees through the windows, as if she was storing the landscape in her memory. When she finished, she sat on the couch and patted the spot next to her. "Your parents called me," she said. I tensed. "They wanted me to make you see reason," she continued. "I didn't tell them that. I told them they ignored you your whole life and to leave you in peace." I hugged her. There I cried, but from relief. I also told them that if they bother me again with their things, I'll hang up on them myself. She finished with a calm that made me laugh. We spent New Year's together, just her and me. We ate well, watched the countdown show on TV, and she told me stories from when she was young. It was the best New Year's I remember. In January, I went back to work and to the routine. My apartment in the city was practical, but every weekend I escaped to the cabin. It became my refuge, the place where I breathed, without waiting for someone to praise me or punish me. 3 weeks into January, my assistant knocked on my office door with a nervous face. "Leora, your parents are downstairs," she said. "They're asking for you." I felt my stomach drop. I told her I was in a meeting. They said they would wait. The building wouldn't give them access to the floors without an appointment, so they stayed in the lobby insisting. I could have asked security to remove them, but that would have caused a scene. "Tell them I'll see them in the cafe across the street in 10 minutes, I said. I arrived and there they were, sitting at a corner table as if they owned the place. "Enough," my dad said, as if he had come to set things right. We all exaggerated. "It's time to turn the page and reconcile." "Turn the page?" I repeated. "Yes," my mom said. "We're family. Families fight and then make up. Let's not make this bigger." I looked at them with cold patience. "You didn't fight with me," I said. "You erased me. You ignored me for years, and now you're here because you want something." My mom shifted uncomfortably in her chair. "It's just that that house is very big for someone who lives alone," she said. There it was. Exactly. "And Corbin and Mirabel need space," my dad added without hesitation. With the baby and everything, you could let them stay for a while. I stared at them as if they were strangers. You came to my work to ask me to lend them my house. It's not that you lend it, my mom answered quickly. Just that you let them stay there. You hardly use it. You have your apartment. I use it when I want, I said. And even if I didn't, it's mine. Your brother is saving, my dad said. Medical expenses, furniture, everything costs. Your brother has a good job, I said. Let him buy his own house. My dad frowned. How dramatic you are. We came to fix this and you're making it worse. I stood up. I don't want to fix anything, I said. You had 31 years to be my parents. You weren't. Now you want to come back because I have something that serves you. The answer is no. My mom opened her mouth to insist. I raised my hand without shouting, but firmly. If you look for me again, if you show up here again, if you go to my apartment or my house, I will file a harassment report and request a protective order, I said. I'm not playing. Leave me in peace. I left before they could answer. My hands were shaking, yes, but I walked lighter, as if I had finally said what had been stuck inside me my whole life. They never looked for me again. Through my grandmother, I learned that Corbin and Mirabelle had their baby in March. A girl. I didn't send a gift. I didn't call. I didn't feel guilt. I felt emptiness, but not for the baby, for everything that had already been broken long before. Almost a year after that Christmas, I'm still working at the same company and doing better than ever. They gave me another promotion in June. My apartment in the city is fine, but the cabin is my place. I go up most weekends, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends. I've hosted dinners, game afternoons, even lent the place for a small wedding of a cousin who has really been there for me. From time to time, I see my family's posts on social media. They take photos as if everything were perfect. They put phrases like blessed and family forever. I don't appear, and for the first time that doesn't hurt. Sometimes someone asks me if I miss my family. The honest answer is no. You don't miss what you never had. What I have now is different. Calm, freedom, and a life that feels mine. Without waiting for an invitation that never comes. Without seeking approval from people who never wanted to give it. My grandmother comes to visit me once a month. We cook together, drink coffee, looking at the trees, and she tells me, with that simple voice that needs no ornaments, that she is proud of me, and that's enough. Because in the end, what I deserved wasn't expensive gifts or perfect photos to show off. I deserved to be seen, to be loved without conditions, and now I am finally achieving it. To those who stayed with me until the end, thank you for listening. For years I believed that being family meant enduring, staying silent, and waiting for the day they would finally look at me. Today I understood something different. Love is not shown with pretty words or with, "That's just how we are." It is shown with presence, with respect, and with actions. And when those actions don't exist, setting a boundary is not betraying anyone, it is rescuing yourself. If my story leaves you with anything, I hope it is this. Don't get used to living on crumbs of affection, and don't let guilt decide for you. Sometimes peace comes when you dare to say, enough, and start building a home, even if it's small, where there is room for you. I send you a heartfelt hug. M.